And I was like, your system is so burned out on all of this. It's not going to change because it still thinks that you're in that trauma response. And it will keep that pattern going because it thinks it needs to keep you alive. And that's why your hormonal response is like this. And that's why you're struggling like this, right? That's why you aren't sleeping. You're so fatigued, right? You're not overeating. And your system is just not recognizing any of it, right? And why you feel like your body's broken. Your body's not broken. It's responding exactly how it should. We just have to support it completely differently and reset it. So we went through, we had done Dutch testing, and then we went through the entire program, protein pacing, everything else. And then some of the things that we go through in the program are talking about boundaries, talking about mindset, supporting yourself, your new body that you're living in, and what it needs, because a body that's been through stress and trauma like that is going to have a different response. And you need to know and recognize that in moving forward. Hey there, welcome to the Female Health Solution podcast, where we discuss women's health, hormones, and everything else in between. Join me as we dive into the tools that you need to live your healthiest life. Hey everyone, we're going to talk about Brenda today. I cannot wait to share her story with you. This is how she went from completely burned out, just feeling like she was living in a broken body, to thriving and being in control of her health moving forward. So if you are feeling like, oh my gosh, I feel like there's just something wrong with how my body's functioning. I'm so mentally exhausted and I've tried so many things, I don't even know where to turn next. This is the episode for you, right? Welcome to the Female Health Solution podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Beth Westy, women's health and hormone expert. We are going to deep dive in today. And I want to remind you that the registration opens this week for the 6-month program. So if you've been on the fence, if you are thinking about it, now is the time, my friends. Do not hesitate any longer to get started on investing in you. There are Dutch tests that are included. Dutch tests, multiple Dutch tests. We test, then we create recommended, customized solutions for you based on what we're seeing. Then we retest throughout the program to make sure you're not only feeling better, but your body's actually functioning better. And we want the proof in the numbers. Numbers don't lie. Labs don't lie. We will look at those labs and then relook at them and assess and then keep moving forward from there so that you continue to get fantastic results the whole time. This is a program that I only run once a year, and it is one of my most popular programs because it gets such fantastic results and people have such an amazing experience moving through and getting the support that they need. There's meal guides, right? There's exercise recommendations, lifestyle recommendations, supplements, all these things, right? And the cool thing about it is that you're not going to waste your time and energy on it. And this was the case with Brenda, right? This is the case with so many women. Why I want to share her story with you is because there are a lot of pieces of it that resonate with so many women that I work with. And oftentimes you feel alone because you feel like you're crazy, right? Feeling like I'm doing all these things and I've got this stuff in place and I'm doing this stuff. Why is this not working for me? Why am I struggling? What the heck? And then you get so burned down on it that you just almost want to give up, throw in the towel, because the thought of starting something else is exhausting. Here's the difference though. What we start is based on what your body needs. It is not cookie cutter. It is not a templated program. It is specific to you. Yes. And there's other programs out there that are similar, right? That are, oh, this is a hormone program and you're going to eat, for your hormones or something, but they don't test, or they test at the end of the program. I had somebody, this is a side note, sorry. This was a gal who, she said she'd been looking at my program. And the reason she was looking at my program is she's like, I'm doing a program, and she was towards the end of it, of a different program that was similar-ish, another provider, another practitioner, right? Somebody who'd been in the women's health space for a long time. And she was like, yeah, she's like, it's not bad. She's like, I'm just really not seeing any results. And I was like, well, okay. She's like, yeah, they do hormone testing. I was like, well, what did it say? She goes, oh, we haven't gone over that yet because it's not the end of the program. I did just take it and we haven't gone over my Dutch test yet. I'm sorry, what? I said, we start with that. We start with that. I have people actually go through a primer, which is before the program even starts, before we really deep dive into the nitty gritty specifics. And that's just to get your system on a base level, foundation to deep dive in. I'm always floored at people who are like, well, do all these things and then let's test. I'm like, why wouldn't you test first and then go off of what that is, right? I I can't, I don't know why. I'd right. It's not my thing, but I do it a different way, but there's a very specific reason I do it a different way and everything else. Anyway, this gal who had reached out to me about this program because she's like, yeah, she's like, it's not, she's like, I'm not having a bad experience. She's like, but I'm not having any different result. So when she actually got her results back in, they didn't really go over it with her one-on-one. They just sent her some things, and so she actually scheduled a second opinion consult with me, which I do. And we went over it and I explained every single number, arrow, dial, everything, every number on her report that has a result there. We went over it. We are very detailed. My team and I, we are very detailed. We don't skimp on any of the info. It takes an hour to go over because it's that extensive. And she was like, "Oh, they didn't explain this." She's like, "Well, what about these things they recommended?" I was like, "They're good, right? That's not bad. I would say the same thing if it were me making the recommendations. Those couple of things would be on the list." I said, "But these other things would be on the list as well because these things need to be addressed." Right? So she then signed up for the 6-month program. She's like, "I feel like I need to start over again." I was like, "Well, you're not starting over, right? It's just a different way to work with your body and hormones." And right out of the gate, she started having amazing shifts and changes, right? Amazing shifts and changes. So many women I work with are driven, determined, right? You have tried so many things. Usually the Dutch test is not the first thing you go to, right? I just had this with somebody else. This gal, I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about Brenda. I'm going to talk about Brenda. I swear, I'm going to talk about Brenda. But first, there was a gal who we went over her Dutch test last week, 2 weeks ago, fairly recently. Busy working mom of 4 kids, has had health issues for the past 3 years. Last year, and then she tried to troubleshoot them on her own for the first year. The second year, she started getting some testing, but like was just trying some random things. And then the third year into it, last year, she was getting all these different blood tests and everything else. And she sent me over the labs and results and things. I said, these aren't bad. But I said, here's what we're seeing on your Dutch test that we don't see on labs, blood labs. Here's what I see, right? And she says, oh my gosh, I looked at the Dutch test last year. And she goes, I hesitated and I didn't pull the trigger. And now after going over it, I feel like I wasted my time in the last year getting all these stupid blood tests that didn't give me any new information and weren't that helpful because my labs were within normal range for everything. And they didn't give me any assistance or guidance or things like that, or the guidance or, recommendations they gave me, I was already doing. And I was like, right, I know. So, so that's why getting a Dutch test going forward in this way is really, really important. So many women are already doing so many things, right? So Brenda, now when we go over health history, we do ask a lot of questions on your overall health history, right? This is a gal, she had been on birth control for over a decade. In her younger years, she got off of birth control. She had a couple of kids and then went back on birth control. But then her husband had a vasectomy after 5 or 6 years or something because they were like, maybe we'll have another, maybe we won't. They decided, no, like 2 is enough. We're at a good point. She's like, my career started taking off. So I was traveling and everything. And she's like, I just decided like this is, my family is complete, etc. Right? Great. Well, yeah. So I will share parts of the story because you guys don't know Brenda. You don't know Brenda. So I will share her stories here. But so she's like, yeah, I had some, irregular cycles. I thought it was the stress of travel and just being a busy working mom and scheduling the kids and their activities and dentist appointments and all these other things, etc. Right? She's like, but I was so excited about really diving back into the workforce because she had taken a couple of years off while her babies were really young. So she was getting back into it and building her career again. And she was very successful, right? She worked in like a consulting business, which she would work in her home office, but then travel about once a month for, I mean, not even a whole week, but once a month she'd have to be gone, which is, frequent. And so she would have to make sure everything at home was taken care of, etc. Right. And if you're thinking, wouldn't her husband take care of the things at home? Well, let's just say after her, coming off of birth control, he got a vasectomy. And then it was, several years after that. So her kids are 10 and 12 now, about that age. And she was like, yeah, I always thought our relationship was fine, etc. Well, come to find out, her being involved in his career or in her career, he decided to find other activities to entertain himself with other ladies. She found out about it and her whole world came crashing down. Right? She was like, okay, I have to, within my company, she immediately like, okay, we are going to separate. We're going to get divorced. Like he blew up their lives completely. Her kids, everything. Um, he wanted her to move out of the house, right? All this stuff, this stuff all happened a couple of years ago, by the way. Like her life blew up. She's like, I'm not taking this. I have my own, money, my own career, my own life, everything else. She's like, we're going to stay in the house. Absolutely not with you, sir. You can get out. There was, a lot of, lawyers involved in that. So it was very, very stressful, very, very, very stressful. And at the time, her sort of irregular period started to become even more irregular. She had very limited appetite. She lost 15 pounds in like 3 weeks because she just was so sick to her stomach. She couldn't eat. She was so stressed. Her hair started falling out. She wasn't sleeping. And she was just like, I'm in survival mode, trying to get like some stability for my life, my kids' life, etc. Several months go by. They finally settle on some agreements and things. And then they're just waiting for the actual divorce to come through or happen or whatever, right? Okay. But she went through this such a stressful stage for such a period of time, months at a time, right? And I know a lot of women will go through this and then she gets on the other side of it and she was like still pushing, still moving forward. She changed her role within the company. So, which she was like, they love me. I do such a good job there that they allowed me to do this, that I don't have to travel as much. I travel half as much. And then when I do travel, I schedule it around when my husband, when their dad has the kids, my ex has the kids, etc. So most of the time it's fine. She's like, I do have somewhat of a good support system, but like his family blames me for him having an affair and all this other stuff because I was focused on my career and all these other things. She's like, it sounds crazy, right? These are the things that as we were talking about all of her hormonal issues and stress and everything, at first she was like, well, I don't have that much stress right now. Like my life is really good now. I wake up and I have, my kids and I get them off to school and I have an after school program for them when I have to work late. And then we do their activities and da 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 da. And then we grab some dinner and then we do bedtime and all this stuff. And I was like, it sounds like you're just running all day and super busy all the time. Like, when do you have time for yourself or when do you have whatever? Right. So she's like, no, it's fine. I can keep up. I deal with it and everything else because you have to. But she was like, no, I don't want to say denial. I don't want to say denial, right? But this was one of the things where I was like, well, when did you have a point in your life where it was really, really stressful? Because her adrenals were off the charts. Her cortisol levels were sky high. And then we were talking about this and I was like, because as we were going through this stuff, and this is why it's so important to deep dive into this and to understand you as an individual. I was like, it looks like your system is in this huge fight or flight response. It looks like your body's expecting a bear to come around the corner and come at you. Like you're being chased by a lion all the time. She's like, it does feel like that. I was like, why does it feel like that? That's not normal. It shouldn't feel like that all day for you and all night for you. No wonder you're not sleeping still. No wonder you don't feel rested. No wonder. And after she had lost that 15 pounds, like really, really quickly, from no appetite, not eating, she's like, I still don't even eat that much. She's like, but I not only put that 15 pounds back on, right? She's like, I gained another 20 on top of it. And she's like, I look puffy, I am bloated, and I don't even eat that much. It was crazy, right? My hair still hasn't come back in, all these things, right? We're uncovering this. And I'm like, so this is their body's responding for a reason. That your body never does anything without a reason. What's the reason? Where did this come from? And that's when she came out with the story about realizing and finding, and she didn't like catch them or whatever. It was actually the how do I say this? Okay. The I don't know, mistress, the other gal, the other woman, her husband that called her and notified her, "Hey, did you know our spouses are sleeping together?" And she's like, "I'm sorry, what?" Because this was the gal that like she's like, "Yeah, I knew who she was, like from my husband's work parties or something, but like I had met her, but you know, there was like she's like there was no evidence, blah blah blah." But because she traveled once a month for work regularly, anyway, so this whole big stressful event happens. She loses 15 pounds quickly. And then after that, over the course of the next several months, she puts it back on plus some. And then over the next couple of years, right, she's still struggling with her health and feeling like, what the heck? And she's like, yeah, for the last year, I have been in a stable place. She's like, my home environment, my kids, my routine, everything. I've been working out consistently. I eat super clean. She's like, I stopped drinking. I stopped eating sugars and everything else. I didn't drop a single pound. And I still look puffy and there's still something wrong with my gut. And I was like, your system is so burned out on all of this. It's not going to change because it still thinks that you're in that trauma response. And it will keep that pattern going because it thinks it needs to keep you alive. And that's why your hormonal response is like this. And that's why you're struggling like this. Right? That's why you aren't sleeping. You're so fatigued, right? You're not overeating, and your system is just not recognizing any of it, right? And why you feel like your body's broken. Your body's not broken. It's responding exactly how it should. We just have to support it completely differently and reset it. So we went through, we had done Dutch testing, and then we went through the entire program. Protein pacing, everything else. And then some of the things that we go through in the program are talking about boundaries, talking about mindset, supporting yourself, your new body that you're living in, and what it needs. Because a body that's been through stress and trauma like that is going to have a different response. And you need to know and recognize that in moving forward. It was a completely different experience for her, right? And we didn't blow anything out of proportion. It wasn't like, oh, you're fine. Just work out longer, do an extra 30 minutes of cardio every day. Wah, wah, wah. No, that's going to fatigue you more. Let's help your nervous system respond better. Let's help your cortisol levels. The other thing that we learned and went through is that she's not a good methylator. So her stress levels on top of it really severely impacted her methylation process. Which is also, we talked about how like alcohol drinking, things like that, and sugars also are negatively impacting the methylation process too, which is why her naturally taking those out was already helping set her up for success for when we started to support her methylation, with lifestyle and supplements and nutrition. And it just worked. It finally started to work because we were focused on the right thing for her system, right? So she went from this completely burned out place again and totally mentally frustrated about it because she's like, I literally don't know what else to do. I can't eat cleaner than I'm already eating. I am so active all day, every day, blah, blah, blah. And I don't have this, negative crap around me. But it was still being presented in her life because she realized she had to set boundaries with her ex's family. There was one phone call that I remember. I was like, you are being way too nice about some of this stuff. Way too nice. Because they're still kind of walking all over you. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was a big turning point for her as well. in terms of not just having her physical body respond, but also her mindset that she was really taking control of everything and moving forward in a better direction. And now she's at a completely different point, right? She doesn't feel broken anymore, like her body's broken. She's like, it is actually functioning well. It's not just like working. She's like, it's working well. I don't have any more belly bloat. I'm not puffy. The weight has started to come down naturally because she's actually in a healthier place. She has hair regrowth, which is annoying for her right now. It was so funny. We just talked about this. She was like, anytime I want to put my hair back, she's like, I've got like these little hairs that just pop through and I look so silly and all this stuff. I said, that's perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. Your body is growing new cells now because it's not focused on being so stressed. And the most important thing that she really regained in her life that she lost when her whole world came crashing down was the control. This was part of it. And this was one of the more recent calls that we've had, that we really dove into was, everything is going well and her cortisols are under control. She's sleeping better, the puffiness, like, right, all this stuff is different. And she was like, I feel like I'm finally at a point where I'm moving forward and I know what's happening and I know what to do to keep this trolley rolling, to keep moving in this positive direction. And if I get off a little bit, I know exactly what to do to get it right back on track. Right? I'm not worried about that. And I said, that is fantastic. So the control piece of it, especially because when her life got blown up, it felt like it was out of her control. She had to work so hard to get a semblance of normalcy in her life again. And then her body didn't respond normally for her. So that was a piece that was still hanging on, that on a daily basis, every time she looked at herself in the mirror, every time she put on her clothes, every time she tried to go through her day, she got that little nagging reminder that this is still out of your control and there's still things out of your control. And she's like, that is gone because my body is working so much better the way that it should be. That other little piece that was there, it's gone. I'm living in a body that I'm fully in control of, and my entire life has really finally been put back together. And she's like, it's not perfect, but I am back in the driver's seat, right? I always talk about my analogy of like when your hormones are driving the bus, she was so funny. We were talking about this because she was like, yeah, sometimes my mood swings or sometimes this, or I get so overwhelmed and I'm so burned out that I don't have time for my kids, et cetera. And I feel bad and guilty. And I was like, yeah, it's like when your hormones are out of control, it's like you get kicked out of the driver's seat and your hormones are driving the bus, right? And, or they're in the driver's seat. Maybe you're in the passenger seat. Maybe you're in the back seat. She goes, oh no, I'm hanging onto the bumper, being dragged down a gravel road. And I was like, oh, that is really very a graphic image. She was like, that's how it feels. But I still have to get up every day and I still have to do my things and do my job, XYZ. And she's like, I'm not going to let him win. She's like, I'm so determined. And I'm so glad that I found this program and went through everything and did the Dutch test and had the support that I had to really continue to move forward. She's like, because for as hard as I've worked, right? And she's like, I thought everything was fine until one day it wasn't. And then I've worked my butt off to get my life back together, and I did. And now I finally got my body back together. So that is Brenda. Now, maybe not every piece of her story resonates with you, but there are so many women that have pieces of that or very similar things that at some point your life has just got flipped upside down through no fault of your own. And then you have to figure out a way to navigate through life like that. This is what we do, right? This is a way to work on your health, your hormones, have the support through this process so that on the other side of it, you are going to be so much stronger and have this clarity and control that you didn't have before. So that's what we do. That's what we have, right? In the 6-month female hormone solution program. So registration is open. We only take so many people. I only run this program once a year. We deep dive into everything for you, right? And this is not something that you want to miss out on. So make sure, go in the show notes, click the link, get on the registration process. As soon as you get registered, you're going to get your Dutch test, you're going to get your calls scheduled, everything. We start right away. We are going to dive into that deep end of the pool and make sure that we get things started on the right track for you. No more waiting. No more wondering, right? No more trying a bunch of different things that may or may not be the right thing for you. If you want answers for what your system needs, this is the program to do. So that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. I so appreciate you. And I love sharing these stories. I love sharing this information. I'm so grateful just to be able to have the opportunity to work with so many women and take you through this process. So have a great rest of your day. Let me know if you need anything else, and I will see you later. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. If you would like more information, just head on over to drbethwesty.com for all the show notes and information from today's episode. And if you're looking for more community, more support, you can find and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and I would love to see you there.